Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I'll be reviewing Gunslinger Spawn, issue 2. I don't know, but I think this might be one of my last issues unless the next issue can pick up. I could be saying goodbye to this series. It felt like it had a lot of potential, but we'll soon get to that as soon as I review it. And last but not least, the final issue of Fight Girls by Frank Cho. And I must admit, these covers have been amazing, but so has the story. So, better make a start on the first comic that I'll be reviewing. So first things first, we are starting off with Gunslinger Spawn, issue 2. Now, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that happens inside of the story? Sure enough, it does, as the story is quite interesting, but it's also missing a lot of elements. But overall, I gave this cover a 7 out of 10. I'll now show some internal art, which we'll see some art around the beginning, middle, and of course the end. And here we have Gunslinger Spawn going up against one of his villains, which is like a redeemer. And he's learning that in this, something is actually happening with one of the spawns in the universe. And as you can see here, there's talk of his discussion with Bartlett, jumping directly into the middle. As you can see, he's starting to learn Spawn's role in all this, as well as learning that there are a number of people who are totally pissed off and want to go after Spawn himself, or the present Spawn, that is. And this is someone who we met in the last issue, the character known as Taylor, but it also appears that Taylor is somewhat what's the word I'm looking for? A relative to a young kid that he met many years ago in like his early century. And that's why these characters actually seem to get along quite well together. But did it hold up for the story and the story racing? I did find it quite funny though, in this particular scene. But sometimes, funny won't always cut it for the story rating. So, moving into the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10, as I really quite liked the art and how it worked with the story. Now it's time to move into the story rating. Now, did we get any references to any previous comics, including anything connected to the Spawn universe? No, we didn't, and I felt that really lost a lot of points. This issue had a lot of violence in it. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I felt some of the violence took away from some of the story. Not all of it, but some of it. We got no indication of time or location this was taking place, as that too also lost points in the story. I think what I might do is I'll give issue 3 of Gunslinger Spawn of Gunslinger Spawn one last chance, and if it doesn't pick up then I'm going to consider dropping this series. Not that I really want to, but I also somewhat like the idea of the story. So, moving into the cast of characters, we had talk of like the main Spawn. We had the character of Taylor. there was a person known as Bartlett, to which Bartlett also seems to somewhat have a connection to both Gunslinger Spawn and the character of Taylor himself, especially in the past, and how, in some essence, the Bartletts had a habit of betraying a certain family that was connected to Taylor and his family line, which I found was quite interesting. Overall, I gave the story a 6.5 out of 10. Not very high. I would have liked it to be higher, but because of some of the missing elements, it really lost those points, and I didn't want to see it lose those points. So now we move into Fight Girls issue 5 of 5, and my goodness, I have really enjoyed this, that I'm also going to get the trade paperback to this particular run. I really love this story. Before I do though, we better get to moving into the ratings. So starting off with first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? And you bloody bet it does. The art, along with the story, including the cover art, has been pretty consistent all along. To which I gave this art, the cover art, a 7.5 out of 10. And I must admit, there was a twist in here that I didn't expect to see. And thank you, Frank Cho, for that twist, because it made the story so much more interesting and exciting. This is some art around the beginning of the story, and as you can see here, this is connected to the person who actually won the role of Queen of this empire. As we move to the middle of the story, we finally get to encounter the king, who is known as King Rufus. And I must admit, this king, in his appearance, somewhat reminded me from someone from the Dune franchise, to be completely honest. Yes, even though he did get quite a eventful end, I'll now move to some art towards the end of the book. And this, pray tell, was one of the biggest twists that I did not expect to see. Thank you, Frank Cho. It made the story so much more exciting. For the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump to the story and the things that make up the story rating. Moving into first things first, did we get any comic references to any of the previous stories? No. Did it ruin or affect the story? No, not at all. Time. Did we get any indication of time of day or when things were taking place? No, we didn't. No, it wouldn't have hurt to include it in it. But did it still affect the story rating? Not at all. Moving into the area of locations, we had Grace Point 1, to which we were in the area of Califax, in a plaza, a medical plaza. We also ended up going to the Royal Penthouse, to which that picture takes place at the beginning that I showed you. We also moved into a district of sorts, and last but not least, the White Sands of New Honey, I think it is. I might be saying that wrong. The cast of characters consisting of Xandra, Blackwater. We had King Rufus, who met his demise, and Blondie, and last but not least, the character known as Butcher, who also works with him. And this story, I really did not expect a twist in the end. And it was really good. It's interesting to see that in this story that they had actually missed a character who should have been investigated. And the person that, or one of the people that should have been investigated that didn't actually get through, or that did get through but didn't get investigated, was the one who won and became the queen. Only to give up her throne and to, well, move into a nice little location near a beach. Fantastic job. This story gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Thank you very much, Franco. I really enjoyed reading as well as reviewing this series. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.